Recently in this springtime, 2020, you might not have heard about this because of all the other chaos going on, people, but there was a change in the way closings are being done in Rhode Island. And I'm not talking about electronic closings. I'm going back into something else, either using a title company or a closing attorney. There were some changes that are affecting consumers as well as realtors. And Ted, can you shed some light on that for us?
It was last year, I believe, or maybe it was even a couple of these cases were even from 2018. So it's been an ongoing matter for quite some time. There was three cases that were brought up before the Supreme Court for unauthorized practice of law. And I'm not going to get into the captions or anything like this because the goal is to determine what has come out of this, right? And so these cases have been, were raised as potential unauthorized practices of law, with certain elements of the transaction have been conducted by a non-attorney. And so the Supreme Court recently, actually at the end of May, but everything really kind of came out more in early this month, early June, was what does and what doesn't constitute the practice of law, okay, and how does that affect a real estate transaction? And so the Supreme Court, that oversees our bar, essentially came up with a ruling, which does, there was, of course, the attorneys have always thought, okay, this is going to, potentially define closings as being the practice of law. But the court kind of stepped back a little bit from that and said, well, no, a non-attorney title company can handle a closing transaction. And so there's some guidance that was given in the decision as to what is and what isn't. So the way it stands right now is that a title company / and or attorney can handle a closing in Rhode Island. The non-attorney needs to identify at the commencement of the closing transaction that they are a non-attorney handling the closing. They have to pass out a disclosure to all the parties involved, okay, that gets signed off by the party, indicating that they're aware that the closing agent, the non-attorney title company, is not an attorney, and that they cannot give legal advice. That's important that this closing disclosure gets disseminated prior to the closing. It's an informed consent. Is it going to change things in the way? I think it's going to be a subtle change. I think, like for example, the title exam, that's conducted can be prepared by the title search can be prepared by a non-attorney in a closing, but the attorney has to be an attorney that's going to evaluate the exam and determine the marketability of the title. So the drafting of a deed has to be prepared by an attorney. So there's some elements in the closing transaction have to be done by an attorney. So that's what's come out of this as well.